You just stepped into the role of an executor, only to find out that the family has a reverse mortgage and the bank's clock is already ticking. Let's talk about that. I know exactly what you're feeling right now. You're grieving, you're completely overwhelmed, and the last thing you want to do is to deal with a cold corporate mortgage servicer while you're trying to honor your loved one's legacy. You might have heard the rumors that the bank owns the house now, or that you should just walk away because there is nothing left. Don't listen to that. You have more power than you think, and today I am going to show you exactly how to use it. The very first thing I ask my probate clients when they call me, when did your loved one pass? I ask that because that specific date starts the ticking time clock for your 12-month window in the world of reverse mortgages. You don't have forever, but you do have a roadmap to save whatever equity is left in that home. Now, here's where it gets tricky for a lot of families. I recently had a client reach out to me right here on YouTube from this channel, and they didn't even use the word reverse mortgage. They asked, have you ever dealt with a HUD or an FHA house? I replied honestly, and I asked the question, do you mean reverse mortgage? And they said yes. And I told them while I hadn't handled that specific loan product yet, I had taken classes and I knew exactly what was at stake, that there was a 12-month window from the date of death of their loved one to get the house sold. Why is that 12-month mark so crucial? Because after that, HUD can start the foreclosure process. And here in Georgia, we are a non-judicial foreclosure state. That means that the bank doesn't have to go in front of a judge to start the process. Once those notices are sent, they can close the door on that equity as little as 4 weeks. That's why we couldn't just sit around. We had to get moving. When you're looking through your loved one's paperwork and you see HUD seal or FHA logos, but no traditional monthly mortgage statement, you likely have a HECM. And that stands for a home equity conversion mortgage. And this is the gold standard of reverse mortgages insured by the federal government. Within about 30 days of your loved one passing, a letter is going to arrive, and it usually comes from a servicing company with a name like C-Link or Finance of America, Champion, or Mutual of Omaha. This letter isn't an eviction notice, but it is a legal check-in. They want to know what your intent is. Are you going to sell? Are you going to try to refinance? Or are you just going to walk away? In these first 6 months, the bank is quite patient if you talk to them. This is when you have to avoid the ostrich effect, putting your head in the sand. Don't put that letter in a drawer and hope it's going to go away. The bank's computer system is designed to mark the property as abandoned if they don't hear from you. And that's what triggers the foreclosure lawyers. Your job in the first phase is simple. First, find the most recent statements, the payoff amount. Second, open probate, so you have the legal authority to act upon the behalf of the estate. And third, remember there's a power of 95%. If the house is worth less than what is owed, HUD rules often allow heirs to sell the home for 95% of its current appraised value, and the FHA insurance covers the rest. You are never really personally on the hook for that debt. Once the financial side is clear, the panic usually shifts to the condition of the home. I remember walking through a house with a family recently. The house had great bones, but it needed some love. The carpets were tired. The kitchen and the bathrooms were original, 1970 something. Straight out of that decade that the home was built. They asked me if they needed to spend money on renovations or just pay the bank back. My answer is always going to be a hard no. You do not want to dump fresh cash into a house when you're on a 12-month deadline. Instead, we use my show-ready formula to maximize the equity without renovation headache. We started with strategic decluttering. We didn't do a full expensive clean out. We just cleaned up the visual noise that often happens in homes. We moved out boxes out of the corners and took down the personal artifacts. We left the main pieces of furniture in place as anchors so that buyers could see the scale of the rooms. Then, even though the house was original, we brought in a professional photographer to capture those good bones. Finally, we didn't test the market with a high price. We priced it exactly where the market was based on its condition. And you have to remember the bank's interest here. It doesn't stop. And every month you sit on the market testing a high price, the interest on that reverse mortgage is eating your inheritance. By being show ready instead of renovation ready, we move fast. The results were incredible. We were on the market for only 3 days. We had multiple offers and we end up in a cash deal that closed in 2 weeks. That cash deal was the ultimate win-win. There was no bank required repairs, no waiting for buyer's loan approval, and most importantly, we beat the clock. The heirs didn't have to spend a dime of their own money on contractors. They finished the probate process, paid off HUD loan, and walked away with a check of the remainder equity. They turned the problem into a successful legacy. If you're staring at a reverse mortgage statement right now and feeling that tick time clock, I want to help you. And I want to help you avoid other traps that could potentially be waiting for you. I've written an ebook called Probate Real Estate, Avoid the 7 Biggest Mistakes. And you can download it for free in the description below. And if you want to know more about how the probate process works here in Georgia before you even talk to the bank, you need to watch this next video right here. I am Tonya Byrd. I want you to take a breath. You have more options than you think, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.